Alrighty, we are live. So I just want to say hello, happy Friday. We are back for a tourism talk on our Fridays, something that we love to do to bring awareness to Sturgeon Bay and all the cool and amazing things happening in our wonderful city. We are so excited to have Emily Ford joining us today. As many of you know, Sturgeon Bay just became an Ice Age Trail community because the Ice Age Trail does either start or end in Sturgeon Bay. We are the eastern terminus, and that's something that we're really excited about. So Emily just finished the Ice Age Trail a couple weeks ago. She started here in Sturgeon Bay and hiked for about 10 weeks and finished at the beginning of March. So we're so excited to have her joining us today. As always, if you guys have any questions for us or Emily, please post them in the comments below. We'll be seeing them throughout the broadcast, and we can answer the questions as they come in. We'll also have some Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions or comments for us, just let us know. And if you have anyone who wants to be on our tourism talk, have them shoot us a message. We'd be happy to have them join us. So welcome, Emily. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This is going to be awesome.
We're really excited. So you are the first woman to complete the Ice Age Trail in winter. You're also the second person ever to complete the Ice Age Trail in winter. So that's pretty cool. But we just want to know, what was your motivation for completing the Ice Age Trail, and especially in winter?
Yeah. I get 3 months off in the winter, which is pretty cool. I'm a gardener and I live in Duluth. So there are many months actually where we can't garden here. But I get laid off for 3 months. And so I really just had the time. That was the motivation for the winter part. But I'm really thankful because I've heard that you guys have a lot of mosquitoes on that trail over there. And I'm great with bugs. I work outdoors, but just my mantra became, do not be the source of your own frustration. And I think if I would have hiked in a different season, it would have been like, do not let the mosquitoes become the source of your frustration. So I'm super thankful I hiked it in the winter time. And super rad to do it in such a cool season that kind of gets a lot of flack, right?
Yeah.
Poor winter.
Yeah, I bet it was absolutely gorgeous, especially after a fresh snow, just to kind of walk through those trails that haven't been touched yet.
Yeah. And if you remember, so it was January or something like that, lots of wet snows and lots of rime frost on the trees, if you remember it.
Yes.
It was super beautiful. And to wake up to that and just walk through it every day, it was awesome.
Absolutely. We want to know, how did you make the decision to start in Sturgeon Bay? Because Sturgeon Bay is the eastern terminus, so it can either be your starting point or ending point. So how did you make that decision to start here?
Yeah, I always hike towards home. So any other trip I've done, I always hike closest to Duluth. And I knew that my family would want to meet me at the end. And I have some pretty elderly grandparents. And so a 6 or whatever hour trip over to Sturgeon Bay from, the Minnesota wouldn't have been as exciting as just a 1 hour drive to, the other side, St. Croix. So, and it was a great decision.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Would you ever, do it the opposite way? Would you ever start over on the border and end in Sturgeon Bay?
Are you asking me if I'd ever try it again? If I were to ever try it again, I suppose, because I think less people would, it wouldn't be as exciting, I suppose, as my first attempt at it. So perhaps it'd be kind of fun to see things backwards, I guess. The ending, I would have to become very fit though, because if you end over on the western side, St. Croix, it's way hillier than if you start over in Sturgeon Bay. So I'm glad I did it this way also, because the hills and the steep parts start as you head west.
Yes. Yeah, that's a very good point. It is fairly flat, from Sturgeon Bay through Algoma, Kewaunee. So
yes, I'm pretty sure it's mostly a rails to trails. So it's an old railroad bed that's been made into a snowmobiling, ski or fat bike trail. Yeah.
Yeah, I would probably make the same decision given that it's flatter in the beginning.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm right there with you. let's see here. How did your loved ones check in on you on the trail? So, I know that you had your cell phone, you kind of check in on Instagram, whenever you had internet. Was that the same, when checking in with your loved ones?
Yeah, so my social media decision was just to do it once a week. I knew that I didn't really want to be on my phone, right? So this trip was originally like just for myself when it kind of came down to it. So being on my phone at all really wasn't going to be a thing. And then it became a thing, but only once a week. With my family, I rotated between my mom, my sister, and my partner. They all were like in this little gang together, making sure I was still alive. So I would call at least one of them once a week. Sometimes, a couple of times a week. So yeah, they made sure I was doing okay.
Absolutely. And you talk about the trail angels that you came across along the trail. So these are just, random community members who would take you in for a night or for a meal. Can you talk about that experience a little bit?
That's so cool. It really is, because 2020 was such a crummy year. I mean, it had its highlights. It had a lot of lowlights. It had a lot of dark points, and it was so cool to remember how how fun it is to have those interactions with strangers when you're both like so excited about something, right? So I was excited about hiking, and these people were excited about me being on the trail and like being a part of the story. And it was just, we had so many good, sometimes they were just fun, like loose conversations, and sometimes they were just like really deep conversations about life with people I had never met before and probably will never see again unless they're watching this. But I'll never see them in person. So that was super cool. And just to know that if anything should happen on that trail, I could just kind of throw a post out there and, people would be willing to help out. And honestly, what is better than being cold and tired and exhausted and all of a sudden like stumbling upon like food that is for you in the wilderness? If my life was like that, if my normal life was like that, if I just walked around Duluth and people left me bags of food around Duluth, I would be the happiest person in the world. So that's always really cool too.
I know, just to have something that's home cooked
Yes.
or something that's made with love that someone just placed there out of the kindness of their heart to help
Yes.
you. It really restores your faith in humanity and that, things are going to be okay after a very difficult
Yes.
year that we've been through. So
Yes.
it's so amazing to hear all those stories. I do want to pivot a little bit and talk about your companion, Diggins.
Yes.
You referred to her in one of the articles that I read as Wilson from Castaway.
Yes.
So, for some of the people watching that don't really know about your relationship with Diggins, she isn't your dog. You borrowed her.
Mm-hmm. I
So,
did. Yes. I have her picture. I'm sitting at my desk right now, and I have her picture up on my desk on a little Polaroid. I borrowed her from a farm called Beatty Family Farms. I found them through one post on Facebook, and I was like literally just a shot in the dark, you know. And I decided to take a different dog. My dog, he's not made for winter. And Diggins and I became very best friends, the best of friends. But if you remember, I think I've only seen Castaway once, but his relationship, and I was a child. I was so young when Castaway came out. I was born in 1992. So was that movie like in the early 2000s? It's definitely the 90s, 2000s movie, right?
it is. I was born a few years after you, so it's in that time period, but still, and I know I'm dating myself a little bit here, and my age is young, but it's in that time period where I'm not sure where
Yeah.
I'm just a toddler.
Yes, but I remember the movie, but I remember his relationship with Wilson, and it impacted me. I mean, he loses Wilson for a little bit in the film, and everybody in the theater was crying. And it was a gosh darn volleyball, right? Yeah. And I felt the same way. Like Diggins and I had such deep conversations. Like I would process all of what I was feeling for the day with her, and we went through some very, very low, very hard times on the trail, and then we got to spend the very exciting parts together, right? So it's this weird relationship, and then all of a sudden she was gone, right? So when I ended her handler was there, and that's how we arranged it. It's not like she surprised me. It's like, give me my dog back. Sherry's very kind. We planned for her to go home at the very end. And when it was time for me to say goodbye, my brain, because it was such an awesome day when I ended. There were so many people there. We were celebrating. And then it finally clicked in my brain that I had to give Diggins back. And I just fell apart like a toddler that had to leave like their very best friend on the last day of like preschool or something like that, you know? And all like there were cameras there and everything. I just didn't even care. But yeah, she's she's 3 years old. She's an Alaskan Husky. And she was a fantastic companion to have on the trip.
Well, absolutely, to make that connection. And like you said, you guys went through so much together. I mean, 10 weeks. And she really was your buddy through it all. So to give her back, you know, I can't even imagine.
Yes. And we were with each other. We were literally tethered to each other for, 70 days almost. That's a lot of time.
It's a long, long time. It is. You briefly talked about when you finished and seeing everyone there. You know, what was that experience like for you, just to finish and see everyone cheering you on?
It was so cool. It was so cool. So I had, it was a weirdly tough decision to open up the end to have a whole bunch of people there. But I knew that over in St. Croix, like, was that Polk County, I think it is, like, that was the only county I hadn't gone through yet, right? And I wanted to be able to celebrate with their county as well, just as I celebrated with every other county I've been able to go through, or that I went through. And I like came over this hill and there was just people all over the rocks. They were like hanging out. There was like cowbells and like horns going. It was so much fun. And it felt like a good, like, bookend, a very good bookend to a very long trip.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to remind everyone watching that if you have any questions for Emily, please feel free to post them in the comments below. We'll be taking some questions at the end of our discussion. So if you have any questions for her, just comment below and we'll be sure to get to them. I did read another article that you had done, and you said, I check a lot of boxes, and how historic this whole journey was for you to be the first woman, the first Black woman. It's so historic. Has that really set in that you are a role model for young people looking up to you?
Not maybe it said it. I don't know. I don't think so though. I don't think it's really gonna make its full impact until like maybe 10 years down the road. Like, because I talked to a bunch of fourth graders, 2 groups of fourth graders. And how old are you in fourth grade? Like 10 years old or something like that, 9-ish. And I don't think it's going to be until like those little kids are, in their 20s, and like they're like, yeah, you came to my class, or like, my mom had us go meet you on the trail or something like that when I was 10 years old, and that made an impact. So I don't think the full weight of that is really, set in. I did become a part of some curriculums in classes, so that was pretty cool. And I have, for like, celebrating International Women's Day, or month, sorry, I've become part of some curriculum. So that's been really cool, but I don't think the full impact will happen until these little kiddos are a little bit older.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to see that representation that you talk about and discuss, and to see people out there, people of color that out in outdoor recreation.
Yeah.
We need to see that. And it's so exciting to see that you are an advocate and that you're doing all these things. And I really, truly think that you are a hero to many of these little kids that you did talk to. And we will see, a lot of them out on the trail hiking and getting out there. And I do think that is because of you. So I think we all think that you're amazing. So I hope that you know that you're amazing.
It's setting in finally. Yeah.
So our last question for you today, what's next for you?
Yeah. Well, for now, I'm just back to work. So gardening again, which is awesome. One of the things I'm super thankful for through hiking is such a wonderful sport. The hard part about through hiking solo is that, or through hiking at all, is when you're done with your trip, you're on this weird high, right? Because you've just done something and it's like, you're giving you a sense of purpose. You're out in the air all day long. Like, it's just awesome. You have very few responsibilities and it's fantastic. And you come back and it can be really hard to adjust back to normal life. Really hard for some folks. So I am super thankful that I got to come back to a job I really love, a partner that I really love, another dog that I really love. So I'm just working on getting my normal life back into, shape and get the gardens ready here and get other gardens ready in town. So, and then the next adventure will come down the pike. I think my shtick might be like doing some unsung hero trails, just like ones nobody knows stuff about. Because every time I talk about the Ice Age Trail, people be like, "Oh, okay." Like the Midwest, like how in the Midwest we're just like, "I don't know what you're talking about," but I'll just smile and nod, And so, figure out other trails to advocate for, and probably do them in the winter because that's the only time I have off. So, and then just do short hikes here and there and overnights and whatever. So just living my normal life, indoors and outdoors.
We love to hear. And if you ever decide to do it again, let us know, and we'll be there at the beginning cheering you on. So,
or maybe it'll be the end. Who's to say?
Just let us know. We'll be there no matter what.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, Emily, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Feel free to comment over the next few weeks if you have any questions. We'll be happy to answer them as we'll be monitoring this post frequently. So happy Friday, and have a great weekend in Sturgeon Bay.